Hi, everyone. My name is Eric Raimondi, and I'm a second-year master's student at the Kevorkian Center for Near Eastern Studies here at NYU. This past summer, I worked as a research and advocacy intern at Still I Rise NGO in Samos, Greece. Some of you may already know, but Samos is in the North Aegean Sea region of Greece, and Samos, along with 4 other hotspot islands, make a major migration corridor from Turkey into the European Union. And these 5 islands in the past 5 or 4 years have been the site of major EU investment to construct new facilities to control and manage migration. So Samos, as you can see, is very close to the Turkish mainland, which is on the left side of the screen. And at its closest point, it is 1 mile away. So over the summer, I conducted research and did work for a small organization. And my work was primarily about a new refugee facility, camp facility there, that features new technologies of surveillance and spatial control. The old camp, which is bordered in red at the top right of the screen, as you can see, is very close to the town of Vathy, which is along this bay. Whereas the new camp, which was constructed in 2021, is much farther from the town, about 5 miles from the town of Vathy. So a guiding question that I had over the summer was about refugees' physical access to the town of Vathy in order to acquire essential goods and receive services from different civil society organizations. With the old camp, access was fairly easy. Obviously, there were problems with the old camp. It was in the press, especially during 2016 and 2017. But there was access to the town. Whereas with the new camp, access is far more limited because of its geographic location, and its far proximity to the town. So I was working with an organization called Still I Rise NGO. It's a fairly small but growing organization that was founded in 2018. They work primarily with refugee youth, and they provide education and also have an advocacy department, which is where I was based. In addition to working with Still I Rise, I also worked with 2 other organizations, the first being the Samos Advocacy Collective, which is an informal group, a relatively new group, an informal group of civil society organizations and independent researchers. They draft public policy reports in order to apply pressure on policymakers in the European Union, and especially in Athens. I also worked with another organization called Samos Volunteers. They were founded in 2016. They work with refugee adults mainly, and they provide a range of services, including education, psychosocial services, and other essential services such as laundry. So with all 3 organizations, but mainly with Still I Rise and the Samos Advocacy Collective, I was mainly involved in conducting qualitative research by doing interviews directly with refugees living in the new camp facility and civil society workers. So I drafted news articles, internal reports, and public policy reports. Just to give you a sense of the larger context that was framing my work, in the last few years, there has been an increase in pushbacks, which are both violent and illegal, committed by Frontex, which is the EU border control agency, the Hellenic Coast Guard, and the Turkish Coast Guard. Also, as I mentioned, Samos being a prime example of this, there have been new camps constructed in the last few years, beginning in 2021, so I guess last year, And these camps are serving as models for other refugee camp facilities to be built in other EU member states and beyond. So a few takeaways that that have really framed and impacted my research and work is that the human rights of displaced people in the European Union and in the Mediterranean more broadly is deteriorating, and the Samos context is a prime example of that. Also, the international human rights framework and organizational system, as evident in Samos, is deeply imperfect and largely due to the fact that fundraising for the international human rights organizational system, it's a lot of words, relies on crises and disaster in order to fundraise. And also, the system has failed to localize in the last 6 or so years that it has been present in Samos, which has kept it particularly vulnerable to domestic critique. So looking forward, I hope that the work I did over the summer will amount to future publications with Still I Rise and the Samos Advocacy Collective, and some of the research I did over the summer will also contribute to my master's thesis in the spring. Lastly, the work I did over the summer, I hope will complement the work that I'm doing now in New York at the International Rescue Committee Field Office. Thank you very much, and I will pass this off to Olivia Epley.